Lindsay Summers had long brown hair, a huge smile, and big brown eyes. To my 12-year-old self, she had everything. There I was at my first middle school dance, decked out in my finest khaki pants, fresh from the husky aisle at the duckhead outfit. I stood in the corner of my school gym with all the other non-dancing young men. I had no intention of stepping onto that dance floor, despite the blaring tunes from the Backstreet Boys. I was content to simply stand back and think about how beautiful Lindsay was. Then the unexpected happened. While I was minding my own business with my non-dancing friends, Lindsay walked over. "Do you want to dance?" she asked. "What? Why? She wasn't supposed to do this." So I did what any normal 12-year-old boy would do. I yelled no, ran, and hid. I'm not kidding. I literally sprinted away and hid. I knew Lindsay was beautiful. I knew I really liked her. I knew yes was the right answer. But when the moment of truth came, I said no. I was afraid to dance. My no pushed me into hiding. I didn't get another opportunity to dance with Lindsay again. Turns out she wasn't into sprinters or boys who hid. It took a few years for my social life to recover from that one. Perhaps it's still recovering. I said no a lot when I was younger. While most of us have outgrown or simply embraced our social awkwardness, we still find ourselves saying no a lot. We say no to our true callings because we doubt our gifts and abilities. We deny opportunities to preach, take initiative in our communities, and lead God's people. We'll find another calling. The task at hand is too hard. We don't know if we're up to it. We don't want to be challenged, and we certainly don't want to risk failure. We say no because we overthink everything. Before we make any decisions about a sermon or vocation or where we want to go for dinner, we check out 15 books from the library and ask every mentor we have for their opinions. We are frozen by a lack of confidence in God and in ourselves. We say no because the church is too messed up. It fights over things that don't matter. It spends money on building bigger buildings. We don't want to be a part of it. We quit going and quit investing. Instead, we're content with talking and tweeting and blogging about how bad the church is. The church usually doesn't look anything like Jesus. We say no because we don't believe in Jesus. The kingdom of God is as make-believe as our favorite Disney fairy tale. The resurrection is a hoax. Our faith is in nothing more than pie-in-the-sky talk. Sometimes we only make ourselves believe because we're so deep into seminary that we don't know if we have another option. I went to a wedding a few weekends ago, several weekends ago, in Lula, Georgia. After the wedding, everyone gathered inside for dinner. Seating was assigned. And don't you know, I got seated with those people. You know those people. The ones who, when they find out you're in seminary, say things like, "That's so nice. You must know the Bible really well. Do you want to be some sort of preacher?" Or my personal favorite, "I'm so sorry for cussing earlier." My roommate, Blake Tommy, was at the wedding too. And after a few minutes, I found out that his table mates were much fuller than mine. So I quickly changed seats. At his table were two Anglican folks named Isaac and Rebecca. And after a few minutes of small talk, they found out Blake and I were in seminary. But unlike the good-hearted folks at my table, they really knew how to talk to seminarians. They made jokes about Calvinism, church fights, and ministers. And we even had some normal conversation. What a novel concept. Isaac, though, asked me a question that I've been thinking about for a while. He jokingly asked, "So, you're in seminary. Do you still believe in Jesus?" After everyone laughed, I answered, "Yes, I still believe in Jesus." Later that night, I thought about his question again. It kept asking itself over and over again in my mind, and I couldn't let it go. As I pondered it, I said to myself, if I would have been completely honest, I should have said, today, yes. Sometimes, though, no. When I think about 20 young children killed in Sandy Hook Elementary School or bombs blasting at the Boston Marathon, I'm likely to say no. When I think about the damage Christianity has done in the name of Christ, from the Crusades to modern-day discrimination, I'm likely to say no. When I read book after book and write paper after paper without making any effort on my own to interact with God or God's people, I'm likely to say no. Perhaps I'm the only one who feels that way, but I'm betting we all want to say no, or at least most of us, sometimes, when we ask ourselves if we believe in Jesus. We may never say it out loud. We may never admit it to ourselves, but somewhere deep down inside of us, we sometimes want to say no. Peter doesn't even try to hide his no or his multiple no's. Only a few days before this breakfast on the beach, Peter said no to Jesus 3 times. A woman asked him if he knows Jesus. Peter says, no. A crowd asked him if he knows Jesus. Peter says, no. A slave asked him if he knows Jesus. He says, no way, not a chance. Shortly after Peter's third no, Jesus is crucified. He's dead. A few days later, though, he is resurrected, and Jesus appears a few times to the disciples. Peter has a chance to see him again. Peter's no still plagues him, though. He can't sleep due to the nightmares. He feels embarrassed around the other disciples. He was supposed to be the leader. How could he do this? Peter, previously known for being quick to speak and slow to listen, doesn't say a word to Jesus the first 2 times they meet after the resurrection. His 3 denials keep playing over and over again in his mind. In an effort to get away, he and a few of his friends, some other of the disciples, travel to the north shore of the Sea of Galilee, a ways from town, but a place that is very familiar to them. Peter hops up at night and tells the group, "I'm going fishing. Night fishing is best, and I can't sleep." Peter's no pushes him back into his old way of life. He is running from his call, his identity as a disciple, and from Jesus. His no has trapped him. Even so, the others agree to go fishing with him. After several hours in the boat, these fishermen are striking out. Picture Forrest Gump when he first started shrimping. Net after net after net catches little more than a few broken sticks. When daybreak hits, though, a man starts screaming at them from the beach. "You aren't catching any fish, are you?" They call back a little agitated, "What does it look like?" after murmuring a few other words under their breaths. The man offers his unsolicited fishing advice to a group of former professional fishermen. "Try the right side." Peter and his crew decide to prove this wise guy wrong, but they catch so many fish that their nets begin to break. Then they figure out the annoying, crazy man on the shore is Jesus. Peter's naked from diving in the water all night, so he throws on some clothes, leaps into the water, and swims toward Jesus faster than Michael Phelps. It suddenly clicks for Peter. He can't go back to his old way of life. He can't let no rule his life. He can't go on with some humdrum existence. The other men follow behind him closely in a boat, and when they all get to shore, Jesus is cooking breakfast over a small little fire. The disciples sit down and eat a meal together, something they had done many times. After breakfast, Jesus decides to quiz Peter. First question, do you love me? Peter responds, yes, without hesitation. Okay, Jesus says, feed my lambs. Second question, are you sure you love me? Yes, Peter exclaims, I'm sure. Third and final question, after Jesus says, tend my sheep. Peter, be honest. Do you love me? This question sure does sound familiar. Yes, Peter screams. This is the last time I'll tell you, Peter. Feed my sheep. Peter said no to Jesus 3 times over the past several days. His no had led him back to fishing, his old way of life, before ever meeting Jesus some 3 years ago. Jesus responds to Peter's 3 no's by giving him 3 chances to say yes. Peter's no haunts him. Jesus helps him let go of no and embrace yes. But Jesus doesn't only give Peter chances to say yes. Jesus reminds him what saying yes means. Yes means loving people. Yes means taking care of all God's children. Yes means leaning into his identity as a disciple. Yes means following his true calling even when fishing seems easier. Yes means following Jesus even to the cross. We too are able to change our no to yes. When we say no, we get pushed back into corners, into old ways of life. When we answer yes, new possibilities arise. We get fresh opportunities to say yes, even when we think no has trapped us. We say yes to our true callings because we are confident in our gifts and abilities. We welcome invitations to preach. We take initiative in our communities. We lead God's people. We dive deep into opportunities to practice and explore our callings. The task at hand is not too hard. We are up to it. We want to be challenged, and we certainly want to take a risk. We say yes because we quit overthinking everything. We stop freezing over every single decision we make. We realize that we don't have to take a class on every possible situation before we take action. Instead, we start making some of our own choices and listening to the Spirit ourselves. We say yes because the church is Christ's presence on earth. We want to be a part of it. We start going and start investing. We quit simply talking about the church and begin participating in the church. We discover that it stands for justice. It loves the unlovable. It builds communities with deeper relationships than those our culture values. The church looks a lot like Jesus. We say yes because we believe in Jesus. The kingdom of God is more real than this very moment. We live in light of the resurrection. Jesus has already changed the world. Our faith is in something powerfully true, even when tragedy strikes, or even when we Christians act like we've never heard of Christ. When we answer no, we find a life we can't really want. A life of the same old, same old. A life lacking any real meaning or purpose. A life where we live like someone other than who we were created to be. When we answer yes, we find a life we really do want. A life of seeking the kingdom of God. A life with more purpose and meaning than we can ever imagine. a life of loving God and loving people, a life of following God's call, listening to the Spirit, being in the church, and believing in Jesus. We may still say no sometimes. In certain seasons, we may say it often. No cannot plague us, though. No does not have the last word. No is not our final chance. Peter got chances to change his no to yes. We too serve the God who gives us chances to say yes again. May we let our no be yes. Amen.